Let's continue analysis on that G7 finance ministers meeting in Banff, Alberta. We're joined now by John Kriton. He's a political science professor at the University of Toronto and director of the G7 research group, and he joins us now. John, thanks a lot for joining us. I see from some notes that you think it has been a very productive meeting, and you think things are going in the right direction. That's a pretty thumbs up review. Tell us why you have that view.
Yes, indeed. And certainly it's been a more productive meeting than most had expected and that many had feared. It does seem that we are going to get a very comprehensive communique in which all members, including the United States, agree on the broad range of issues it covers, including the most critical one in the minds of Canadians and others, economic imbalances, trade and tariffs, and all the things closely connected with it. The communique is going to say that they'll all work together on imbalances, and that was the subject of a vigorous discussion. Clearly, Scott Bessent, the U.S. Treasury Secretary, had China first in line on his mind, but Donald Trump says things about Canada's trade deficit with the United States. So Mr. Bessent can tell his boss that he kept the line up in Banff. I think the biggest surprise was that they agreed to take a coordinated approach to the economic issues and policy that they faced. That's much more than saying, well, we all agree on common definitions, or even will move in the same direction. It means they all have to work together doing different things, so the cumulative result is much bigger and better than it otherwise would be. I should point out that the biggest surprise on the negative side is a somewhat bizarrely, they said in the draft communique, and probably the final one, that economic uncertainty has declined. And I think that would be a big surprise to everybody watching interest rates in the United States, watching how the dollar is declining, all of this in the wake of Moody's downgrading of the United States high quality debt from a AAA one step down for the first time in over half a century. And beyond that, on tariffs, well, you just never know what Trump is going to do the next hour. In a tweet, will I go up or down? So there's two big sources of uncertainty, and none of that has declined today.
Okay, a lot is being made of the fact that our finance minister, Canada's finance minister, François-Philippe Champagne, has achieved a one-on-one with Scott Bessent, the U.S. Treasury Secretary. Is that as important as some people tend to think it is? And how much might Canada have achieved out of that face-to-face with Scott Bessent?
I think a lot from what we know now. It took place late last evening after everybody had their thing to say at the collective table. And Scott Bessent was always one of the adults in the room, and he knows how badly Trump's tariffs, and yes, the uncertainty they create, the unpredictability, is harming his fellow Americans, not only on Wall Street, where his old buddies are, but in the MAGA heartland, the farmers, the workers, everybody who shops at Costco or a Walmart where prices are going up. So his trick was to try and do enough to stay true to what his boss had said the policy was, but to do something sensible and rational so he wouldn't continue to drive down, well, American consumer confidence, and along with it, the public approval ratings of Donald Trump and his administration are now hitting historic lows.
Could this meeting, John, be a significant step forward in reducing the trade tariffs that that certainly promise to hurt the Canadian economy and many other economies around the world, and, as you've just mentioned, quite likely the U.S. economy as well. The communique, we understand, will reference trade imbalances. That will address the complaint of the United States. It will also address the negative impacts of tariffs. That will address the complaints of U.S. trading partners. Will that communique, if it comes out the way you think it will, be a significant step forward in resolving and perhaps eliminating these trade tariffs?
I think it'll be at least a substantial step forward, largely by its silence, what it specifically says about U.S. tariffs on its fellow G7 countries, Canada too, because if there's any good news, it'll only come from Donald Trump himself at the White House after this meeting is over, and not from his employee, Scott Bessent, let alone sharing the glory with the other G7 finance ministers. But more than that, silence is the big message. There's not a hint in anything in the communique, and I suspect the press conferences, that means that the Americans are going to hit their G7 partners with more tariffs, or even lengthen the time frames in which we have to act in order to get bigger, better relief. So the big game will take place amongst the leaders themselves at Kananaskis, the summit in mid-June, where Donald Trump will be there in person before the television cameras to take all of the credit for all of the good things that are done in moving away from an escalating tariff war back towards sensible, rational trade between Canada and the U.S. and the other G7 countries too.
John, thanks a great deal for this insight. That's John Kriton, a political science professor at the University of Toronto and also director of the G7 Research Group.